It's the in-form Magpies coming face-to-face with the Fever, one of the competition favourites in a mouth-watering Mother's Day matchup in Perth on the lands of the Noongar Whadjuk peoples. Collingwood are chasing 3 straight wins for the first time this season, while the Fever are targeting a return to the summit of the Suncorp Super Netball. And we are going to get straight into this one. The Magpies after 3 straight, the Fever the top of the table, and it's great to have Maddie Brown along for the call. And Maddie, the question is, can the Magpies keep this run going at one of the toughest away venues in the comp?
They've come away with a great little tip on the ball for that Fever centre pass already before they just turn it over here. But they're starting with that same lineup that has proved to be successful for them in their last 2 wins. So I think it's consistency in that starting 7, which is key for them.
So Janelle Fowler looking to get things started a little too far away. So she dropped it back out to Simmons. Now Glasgow, who is that one change from the starting 7 from last week for the Fever. Glasgow in at goal attack for Kosh, and Fowler delivers, as she often does. So the Magpies a chance to respond. Those 2 wins against 2 of the sides who many have favoured for the competition as well. Firebirds and Vixens, that's almost a turnover for the home side. Good recovery from the Magpies. Garvin feeding Brown. Nelson got a tip, just enough to find Garvin.
You can see the intensity from the Fever's defence already. Really high hands over pressure, trying to disrupt the mid-court and goalie connection there for the Magpies.
Ariang and Frances Bayman. Frances Bayman part of that team of the week last week. Simmons, and now 5 through. Absolutely 5, that did Frances Bayman. And then via Teagnell to Fowler, and the Fever keeping in front in this first quarter. Brown, 3rd most in Nissan net points this season. Here's Garvin. And now Nelson just got there in front of Ariang. And we're back all square again. Good start to this one at RAC Arena. Glasgow into Janelle Fowler. One of 2 mothers on show on Mother's Day today. Of course, Ash Brazel, former Fever player with the Magpies now. And Fowler's 3 from 3. Accuracy of 96% from 1- and 2-point shots this season. Jovic and Garvin. And it's going to drop out of court.
Inside the circle area.
You can see the patience from the Magpies here, trying to get a better look at getting closer to the post. Oh, Garvin misses that one. But they want to try and work the ball through those triangles, have a little bit more even balance through each of the channels on court. So when they're patient, using that ball to get it close, they just need to tick away that scoreboard pressure. The last thing you want to do is miss early and give Fever that upper hand early in the game.
Yeah, well, that was an issue that the Magpies were having in past matches, that efficiency from the centre pass to goal, and that is where the Fever are the best in the competition, and you can see why. The feed right through to Fowler, but it is something they've improved in those 2 consecutive wins. Also the turnover to goal rate. They're turning those gains into goals, and that's obviously going to be pleasing for Nicole Richardson.
The hardest thing is getting those game possessions against the Fever team today. They've got such strong, dominant scoring power with Fowler. It is really going to be a defensive unit throughout the entire court to try and generate those game possessions.
Nelson, but Bruce just got an arm in there. That's a big play. But the Magpies again get away with it. But there's a problem. Footwork from Garvin, and Fever with a chance to get an early opening here. It's a 1-goal advantage at the moment, looking to make it 2, and they'll have the next centre pass as well. Reached by Simmons, but over the sideline, so they give it up to Fever.
This is where the Magpies have to capitalise, as you said. Gain, ball.
And the Fever, well, they thought they had it back for a moment. So to and fro, netball in this first quarter. And contact from the goal shooter on Bruce, so Nelson giving away the penalty.
It was great footwork by Bruce to try and get around.
What's going on?
It is riddled with mistakes. I think this is the defensive pressure from both teams. Someone just needs to take a deep breath, calm down. I think Fowler's just saying that to her team. Calm down and let's get control back.
Can one of these two teams settle the nerves? Jovic. And now Brown to Nelson.
Whenever that mismatch happens, Ariang on Nelson, definitely need to let that ball go straight in.
Teague Neal with the up and over the top to Fowler. So the Magpies and Fever very much inseparable at the moment. Both have had opportunities to give themselves some kind of a break. And there's another arm in from Bruce getting the deflection. No gain though for the Fever. And now Garvin with a chance to make it 5 each.
She's really starting to draw Nelson out of the circle. I'd love to see Shimona stay closer to the post, make Bruce be accountable for her.
Simmons and now Fowler. Little far away, and she will get the deflection and gets the offensive rebound as Janelle Fowler keeps the Fever in front. And you look at the stats on that, it is just incredible. They are by far and away the best team in the competition in that department. And that's because of Janelle Fowler getting those offensive rebounds. And now Nelson makes it 6-all midway through this first quarter. Fever looking to go to the top of the table. The Magpies to make it 3 straight wins. Glasgow and Teague Neal.
It's always interesting to see what defensive strategies the opposition play against the Fever. Do they double back both defenders on Fowler, or do they come back and kind of hedge off? So watch the Magpies' strategy there to see how they can try and get their hands to a couple of balls.
Harry Yang almost got an arm in there on Shimona Nelson and gave away the penalty. Now it's Bruce, forced to stand aside. Comfortable for Nelson. The Green Army getting hyped up. They haven't had too many home matches this season, just the 2 for 2 wins. Looking for 4 straight wins at home. The West Coast Fever. And they have been dominant against the Magpies. 5 straight wins dating back to 2019. They've always been in front in this first quarter as we are ticking down towards power time. Garvin floating it up for Nelson. Good strength, one-on-one with Bruce.
Great take by Shimona Nelson. That ball needs to go a little bit further into space. Shimona needs to hold a little bit longer, but that ball needs to be pushed out a little bit further out so Bruce cannot even get a tip to it.
And Fowler just doing what she always does. Let's go courtside with Josie Jans-Dawson. What are your thoughts on this first quarter, Josie?
Yeah, really, for both of them, really high energy, as everyone's been saying. Just hearing from the sideline too, we've got Dan Ryan shouting out instructions to his Fever players to work the ball to the line. So I think whether that's Francis Bayman and also Sunday Ariang, making sure they really bring the ball down to the transverse so that we've got 4-on-4 in that middle end third. And also the feeds coming from the circle edge. Interesting to also see the strategy. Collingwood working a lot of unit defence off that centre pass, covering the overload and forcing the players to play on the right side. So it'll be a good play out for the rest of the game, I think.
Thanks, Josie. Have a look at this. Brilliant work from Ward flying through and getting possession here for the Magpies. A chance for them to get themselves in front for the first time this afternoon. Brilliant take from Nelson. They are in front, the visitors. Met with silence around RAC Arena. The announcer trying to get things pumped up. The Green Army are a little quiet here with the Magpies starting this game strongly. A chance for a 2-goal margin right before power time.
Smart play there by Garvin, balking into the pocket, trying to get Ariang off and leaving nice, easy pass for Nelson under the post. Borks, being smart with that ball in hand, is definitely going to go a long way today against the Fever.
So there is the siren. That signals power time. Happy for just the one on that occasion, the Fever. 5 minutes. The Suncorp super shot in play in this power 5 as Garvin draws the Magpies back out to that 2-goal advantage.
It'll be interesting to see how Fever play this out. They're obviously very strong in the 2-point time compared to Magpies that hardly put up any shots during the power 5.
So Fowler again, and that is interesting because the Magpies, Gabby Sinclair out today with the flu. She's taken the most 2-point shots, 11 from 20 this season. And then you've got to look down towards Allen, who's not out there, and Sophie Garvin, third on that list. As we see the match leaders in the Nissan net points, all Fever players, but they're behind, and it could have been more there if Garvin had have sunk that super shot. Just see not tumbling through on the Harvey Norman replay. So how much should we focus on that moment in this first quarter, because they had a chance to keep the 2-goal margin, instead opted for the 3, got a little greedy, and now a chance for the Fever to lock things up.
Might have been that clutch moment to just work it a bit shorter to post, like Fever. Happy to just chip away at these 1 point, 1 goal at a time, and then when you get that double centre pass, have a crack at the 2. See where this Glasgow comes into the game here.
So a dozen apiece, and they are back in front, and the ball is just caught in the net. A little too much tension there. Plenty of tension out on court. It's such a tight match.
There's that mismatch again. Every time it happens, Magpies can really expose Nelson right under the post.
Nelson happy with the service. Penalty here the way of the Fever. Francis Bayman. And now Fowler taking it a touch closer, and it's 14-13 inside the final 2.5 minutes. No Suncorp super shots yet. We know more of them come in the second halves as teams are trying to chase games. At this point, you don't really want to risk it. The Magpies have done on one occasion with Garvin, but now safety first is the approach, and it's back to 14 all. Francis Bayman just picking those passes perfectly. And now Glasgow with the Suncorp super shot. It does not drop. But again, there is Fowler once again. It's an incredible record. Missed shot conversion for the Fever, 50%. The next best is the Magpies at 31%. And that's how big Fowler is in that department.
I mean, they're obviously missing a lot of goals to get offensive rebounds, but those goal attacks have so much confidence to just put it up, whether it's in a 2-point play or it's a 1-point play, because they know that they've got that strong rebounding power in Fowler when they do.
Brown now to Garvin. Oh, I thought for a moment she was going to put up a super shot. Attempt instead to Nelson for 15 apiece. The final minute of this first quarter here on Fox Netball. The penultimate match in round 8 of the Suncorp Super Netball. As the Fever look to return to the top of the table. They're doing things nicely at the moment, just keeping their noses in front of the Magpies. Both teams maybe just wanting a bit of a breather. Ball took a fair while to get back to the centre circle. Brown, that's a beautiful pass to Nelson.
Fever working more of a one-on-one in defence, but when we come down to this other end, Magpies sometimes using more of a box. They've gone back to the one-on-one, I think, to shut down for this final 20 seconds of the quarter, but they're seeing the split circle, trying to swing, trying to create confusion to those feeders.
So Fowler and Mentor in that international battle in the goal circle. Fowler doing things just fine at the moment. Can the Magpies get themselves back on level terms? No, they can't. Nelson trying. They just couldn't get it through. And after an enthralling first quarter at RAC Arena, it is the West Coast Fever leading the Collingwood Magpies by 1 as they look to return to the top of the table.
Welcome back with Fox Netball. I've been listening into the Collingwood during that quarter time, and Nicole Richardson really trying to expose the mismatch. So looking to the attackers running to the pocket, getting Courtney Bruce to actually fade into some of those, and obviously see Sunday Ariang taking on Shimona Nelson in the back. So a really good attacking focus that we'll see there. And defensively, you'll start to see a lot of walls, one-on-ones that will push out, and then Ash Brazel trying to have a crack at the ball on the second base.
Thanks, Josie. Yeah, a fascinating quarter time brought to you by Origin Energy. What did you hear from the West Coast side of things, Maddie?
Oh, it was great listening into Dan Ryan. He was talking about how in defence it's going to be about that accumulative pressure. He said, be proactive, don't just exist. We want to create angles, opportunities. He's obviously said to Stacey Francis Bayman, keep Kelsey Brown off the circle. That's where she's most dominant, and that's where she's getting a lot of her circle edge feeds and assists.
Well, let's see how it plays out in this second quarter. Inseparable, these two, in the first quarter for the most part. But here's a chance now for the Magpies. Mistake from the first centre pass of this second quarter, and somehow they get away with it, do they, Collingwood? No, they don't. So can't take advantage of the turnover.
Yes.
And the Fever with a chance to make it a 2-goal margin. Acrobatic work, wasn't it, from Francis Bayman, and then just couldn't keep it inside. So Glasgow, and now Fowler makes it a 2-goal lead.
It has been happening even in the first quarter. One team makes the mistake and the other one turns it straight back over a bit of to and fro. You've got to make sure that when you do get those advantages, you make sure they count.
Garvin to Jovic and Nelson. Again, that weight of pass, well, it was perfect, but Nelson just dropped her shot a little short, not on the second attempt. That net's causing some problems. Ball not sliding through again there. But, Maddie, we just saw there, that weight of pass just seems to be a little bit better for Nelson, a little bit further from the fingertips of Sunday Ariang.
And it's also Shimona's positioning. She's holding a little bit longer, waiting until that ball comes over her head, rather than releasing that hold once the ball has left the feeder's hands. Once the ball's in the air, there is nothing you can do as a feeder. The goaler has to hold that position to be able to take that ball.
So Fowler restores the advantage, which is sitting at 2 at the moment for the Fever. Brown to Garvin. Garvin again, just short pass up and over the top to Nelson.
Let's watch the Magpies defence here. Josie spoke about that wall pressure, trying to hold it up over the transverse line and really make Fever have to take a couple of extra balls to get it to their circle edge to feed.
So this rivalry that the Fever have dominated, 5 straight wins against the Magpies, overall an 8-3 head-to-head record in this 12th meeting. But such a tight start in the West. The Fever had the advantage at quarter time, then had the first centre pass in the second quarter, and that's why it's a 2-goal margin at the moment. And it's Nelson. Maybe they need to get something, sort out that net. It was fired back by Fowler. and turned over. Not quite sure what was happening there. Another turnover against the Fever. Here it was. Good tip, wasn't it, from Brazel on the way through. And we are back level at 20 apiece. 12 minutes remaining in this second quarter.
Interesting to note, Sasha Glasgow, no contributions on the scoreboard just yet. All of the weight coming through Fowler for the Fever. Great feed by Kelsey Brown. Nice pop-over pass. Once they get that right to Nelson, they can dominate.
Well, you can see the shooting stats breakdown for the Magpies. 18 for Nelson, 3 for Garvin, and for the Fever, as Maddie said, it's all Fowler. But now, soon as she says that, Glasgow says, yeah, I'll just drain that. And we are back at 21 apiece. And it's the Magpies with a chance to get themselves back in front. It's been the Fever who have been leading for most of this match, and Courtney Bruce does what she always does best. Snatches another intercept, second most in the competition behind Shamira Sterling.
The last thing you want to do is be caught standing and waiting for that ball. You need to run your feet through. Garvin was a little bit flat-footed, and Bruce made her pay for it.
Fowler makes it 22-21 on the back of that Bruce gain.
As we see Zoe Kransberg coming to the centre for Verity Simmons, maybe to bring in a little bit of extra fresh legs. Be interesting to know what that call is for.
Yeah, from Victoria, just her second National League appearance. Did play against the Giants in round 6. Her twin sister Jordan actually is with the Vixens as a training partner. And Nelson once again. And that's brilliant Bruce on the Harvey Norman replay. Jovic well found as the Magpies working those angles perfectly. Nelson is going to put them back in front. Let's go to the sideline. Josie Jans-Dawson is there for us. Josie.
Yeah, as we just saw, probably the most difficult change that would come when there's an interchange is the centre trying to change over. So Kransberg came on for Simmons there, and there was a delay after the shot, which means it's a turnover ball. So Collingwood did take 2 centre passes there and obviously paid on the scoreboard. Something that Fever will have to learn through, call time, or make a change during play. So a little bit difficult for Dan Ryan there. He's going to go down 2 for that one.
Thanks, Josie. So it's only ever got out to a 2-goal difference this match. That's the biggest lead. And you can see it has been a real to-and-fro contest. Both sides have got a run on, but they haven't got themselves in front by much. Nelson strong again up above Ariang.
It's that quick release when they're on, and Nelson's got her hand up demanding that ball, and they can release it nice and quickly. The defenders' eyes are down, and they can really start to expose them a little bit.
So Kransberg, Teague kneeled. Fowler got herself into space. And Fowler, well, she's going to get the rebound. Unhappy with herself for missing, but that's what she does. If she does make a mistake, she almost always gets the rebound. Well, she's the best in the competition at it. Garvin and Nelson, goal for goal in this second quarter. So time in possession, very much even, as you'd expect. So you just see the ball having some issues getting through that net at the far end, as now Fowler brings it back to 25-25. Well, we're expecting a really tight contest. The Magpies looking to make it 3 straight wins. The Fever have been a little bit up and down in recent matches. 2 wins in their last 4, looking to go to the top of the table. And we're getting a thriller at the moment. Cole Richardson watching on.
You're seeing when the defensive unit gets a little tic-tac pass like that, penalty, it just releases the pressure. I'd love to see both teams work on that accumulative pressure, staying in play, trying to make the attackers have to work harder to get that ball down. Stay in, hands over.
Well, Sasha Glasgow there, just to bring us back to 25 apiece with a perfect mid-range shot there, and it's going to get herself warmed up nicely for the Power 5, which is approaching. The question is, how keen will both sides be to take a Suncorp super shot when it's so tight and you miss one and you give the opposition a chance to get themselves in front? Just inseparable, the Fever and the Magpies. And finally, we have a timeout. It's been such a frantic match called by Dan Ryan, a HCF tactical timeout.
Good time to call it just before we get into that Power 5. How are you going to address it? What strategies do you want to implement? I mean, Fever in the box seat, they've got Janelle Fowler for the rebound.
You guys in the circle to interchange your position, but let's play the aerial game against both of them now, all right? So bring the two tools into it, all right? As much hustle from you two to keep them high for as long as possible, all right? So hot spot pressure really important, all right? In this attack end, attackers, Sasha, making sure that we're willing to do the work, okay? So shorten it up, the work off the ball, muscle up a bit more and punch, all right? So really important. Yeah, take him, but know when to pull out to cut back, all right? You got to look for those little opportunities, all right? Cool. All right, everyone in? Everyone in, guys? Everyone in? Okay, full focus here on scoreboard pressure and attack, which is working fine, but all 7 on defence to get some turnovers going into this super shot period, all right? We want ball, all right? Let's go.
Fever on 3, 1, 2, 3!
We want ball, the message from West Coast Fever coach Dan Ryan. 27 all, and the first HCF tactical timeout done and dusted, Maddie Brown. That was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to get ball is to have a team focus on it. And he said all 7 need to play a role. Angle your players, be proactive, move them into positions, keep those attackers off the circle edge, make them have to work a little bit harder to get it down.
Garvin, and here is Nelson. So just continuing where they left off. Maybe not.
As we see Rudy Ellis come into the game here, trying to put a little bit more hands over pressure on Nelson, make those feeders have to pop it a little bit higher over her hands and into space.
Her 6th appearance of the season. Just seen Nelson hitting the rim, and she was able to get the offensive rebound. They've been pretty good in that department, the two Jamaican shooters for either side. Now just barreling in and knocking over Ward. So Power 5 is just seconds away now. We haven't had any Suncorp super shots, and it probably tells you about the kind of match we have. So tight, the margins are so fine. Nelson, that time over the top of Rudy Ellis. Well, as Maddie said, into goalkeeper Bruce to goal defence. Fowler just making space up and over the back.
Patience from the Fever there to just work that extra pass before they feed it in. Coach Dan Ryan asked them to make sure that they just work that shorter, sharper game.
Holly Jovic almost in there was Bruce over the top of Garvin. Two Diamonds teammates. So it is Sophie Garvin's shot. She'll get there eventually. Lob now to Fowler, waiting for Glasgow to arrive, and the super shot specialist. She got some real height and dip on that for the first Suncorp super shot. It doesn't drain, but Fowler's there for the rebound, and we're 30 apiece. What a match at RAC.
Why wouldn't you take it when you've got her under there to scrap up all those loose balls?
Well, it was in on the Harvey Norman replay, rolling around and out, and the Magpies up the other end through Nelson, just going up in ones. And they know how crucial, how precious a super shot would be. There's Fowler, should just go up here, make it 31 all. It's an interesting one because you feel like the Fever, because of Fowler's power in getting those rebounds, don't have as much pressure with going for those super shots. You wonder with Nelson at the other end. Well, here we go. We'll have a look. Garvin for a super shot and drains it. A massive play just before halftime. A Suncorp super shot from Sophie Garvin. And now they get, well, they got the deflection, but it goes over the sideline. So what is the response from the Fever to fire the pass to Fowler?
Trying to sit off Magpies in a little bit of a box formation, shutting down and trying to sweep. It's too easy when Fowler's right underneath there to just slam it right through the middle.
And you can see there's a few more Magpies in that. Nissa net point match leaders now. Nelson bring it back out to a 2-goal lead. It was the Fever by 1 at quarter time, 17-16. Magpies leading this quarter. 2 minutes remaining. Glasgow presenting, but Ward was shielding her, and Fowler just has to take the 1-pointer.
Magpies been using a little bit more backdoor on the centre pass. Here's Ash Brazel again this second quarter, allowing those attackers to get more depth and making those defenders have to be accountable for them, not being able to fly for those intercepts.
So they're comfortable now, the Magpies, with this advantage. Not going to risk any super shots, maybe until they get a little bit closer to half-time. Kranzberg to Fowler.
When you're getting every second centre pass, it's smart to just chip away at that scoreboard. Make the team that's obviously happy to chase decide whether they take that extra shot or they have to work it in. Great depth there again by the Magpies, though.
You just felt more risks maybe taken. Now it was offline, and it's Fever's ball. So how important could that be a minute from half-time? Because the Fever now, at this point, we see Garvin just got a little touch, didn't she, Courtney Bruce?
And if they can score off this one and then have their centre pass before the half-time break, they could still be up by a point.
How quickly it changes. Kranzberg, good feed in there to Fowler. 35 all. They've got a centre pass. I have no doubt here they may even try and bite off a little bit more, maybe go for a super shot and go in with a 2-goal advantage. They're going backwards. Bruce fires it forward. Got a touch off Ward, so it should be a Fever throw in. 12 seconds. Glasgow. That would have been a big statement. Well, here we go. A big statement right before half-time. Hits the rim, doesn't drop. They haven't got long. What's the decision?
It's a 1. The foot was just over that line.
So it will be a 1-goal margin at half-time, just as it was at quarter-time. Well, it's been a tight first half between the Fever and the Magpies, not just on the court, but also with the nets as well. They're going to get that sorted, give it a bit of loosening. That'll be all sorted for the second half here at RAC Arena, where the Magpies, they haven't beaten the Fever since 2019 across all matches. They haven't beaten West Coast in 5 matches, but they're only one good half of netball away from ending that run, and Collingwood coach Nicole Richardson is with us. Nicole, it's a game of very fine margins, so what have you pinpointed to your team as the keys for the second half?
Look, from an attacking perspective, I think we just need to continue being patient in our attack end. They're doubling back on shimmy a fair bit, so we just need to be patient, wait for Soph to sweep, and then try to get a mismatch with Sunday on Shimona. And then defensively, we're doing a good job off the centre pass first phase. They're very patient as well, so we've got to try and be a little bit more creative to see what we can win outside the circle.
Richo, there's been a little bit of to and fro with those turnover balls, but your attack has been so good with ball in hand. You must be impressed with how they've taken care of it. Only 6 general turnovers to half-time.
Yeah, no, super impressed, and that's something we've been working on in the past three weeks. So it's to the girls' credit that they've been able to take that on board and bring this into a really good challenge like the game against Fever right here.
Defensively, we heard Ash Braz at halftime say that hopefully you'll give her a licence to fly. It is all about the unit of cumulative pressure. Have you given her any chance just yet to go out loose?
Hey, Mads, Brazzy always has a licence to fly, always.
Well, hopefully, Richo, you can get those game balls in this second half.
Okay, thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Nicole. Nicole Richardson, the Collingwood coach, and she'll be happy with this start to the third quarter. They are going toe-to-toe with the Fever. Behind by 1 they were at half-time. Behind by 1 at quarter-time as well. And now it's back at 37 apiece. The biggest margin has only been 2 goals. That's how tight this one has been at RAC Arena. Magpies obviously in red-hot form at the moment. Back-to-back wins, 3 wins in their last 4 matches. And looking to claim a big scalp.
And I love just seeing Sophie Garvin hang it out a little bit, really expose that 1-on-1 with Nelson and Bruce in the circle. Playing a little bit more of a feeder role, as long as she's not crowding too much space at the front, they can really isolate Nelson to score so close under the post.
Well, this high-scoring match rolls on. It's been a quick-fire start to this third quarter. Brazel and Jovic, player of the match a couple of weeks ago in that win against the Firebirds. And Nelson has given away a penalty, and now Bruce finds Frances Bayman, returns it to her captain. So this is the little opening the Fever would have wanted. They'll get the next centre pass as well if they can convert here. Fowler does so. So now, how did Collingwood respond? This could be the biggest margin of the match. And we are there right now. 3 goals the difference. The Fever just getting a jump and almost an intercept from Simmons as she tried to pop that one up.
But that was really good discipline from the Magpies to make sure they got to circle edge, got a really good feed off. I think previous times we've seen them try to, fly a little bit.
That's a big win back from Collingwood. It went out to 3. They've got the ball back, and now with a chance to reduce it to just 1 once again.
It might not be the prettiest netball at time, but it is just all about possession.
And it's Nelson, gets the Magpies to 40. They have the centre pass. Jovic immediately to Garvin, to Brown. It's quick movement from the Magpies. Contact from Bruce. Gives away the most penalties in the competition. Courtney Bruce, and the Magpies able to profit, so they're behind by 3. They're back to 41 apiece as we see this on the Harvey Norman replay. Fowler to 42, the Fever.
I think everyone's just waiting for it to just open up. Who's going to crack first? But both teams are really sticking to their structures, being really patient with the ball in hand. defensively, I'd love to see one team be a little bit more proactive and start shutting down some areas to make it a little bit uncomfortable for the attack end. Sagging off into space, just giving the attackers too much time to be able to move into them.
Francis Bayman, Fowler's asking for it, so too it's Glasgow. Mentor got a hand in. Gives away the contact penalty. They would have loved a turnover there, the Magpies. Didn't get it. And the Fever keep things rolling in this third quarter.
Just Mentor getting caught on the body there. Footwork to get around is the key on that one.
Great vision there on the Harvey Norman replay. They had it back. They gave it away. They will get the ball through Courtney Bruce. It's a frantic passage of play. Contact there called on Francis Bayman from Jovic, as you just saw. Teague Neal now to Ariang. Got there to Glasgow via a hand.
It'll be interesting as this game plays out how much of an impact the crowd plays in determining maybe this end result and the outcome.
Yeah, the Green Army finding their voice now as this lead for the Fever grows. They pulled back the 3-goal margin and the Fever are back out again, 45-42. A lot of pressure on this little passage now for the Magpies. Contact from Courtney Bruce on Shimona Nelson. So 8.5 minutes remaining in this third quarter. The Fever just beginning to gain ascendancy in this contest. That's how tight it's been so far. And the Magpies probably disappointed that they couldn't win that second quarter. They went for a super shot in the final minute, didn't come off, and it allowed the Fever to make it 19 apiece for that quarter and get themselves back in front.
There's good pressure by the Magpies there, but the patience from Fever to work back, to go again, provide another option, eventually just chipping away and finding that space.
Yeah, chipping away at the moment is exactly what the Magpies have to do. No super shots in play for another 2.5 minutes. Garvin, and it's Fever's ball. Costly mistakes hurting the Magpies in this third quarter. It feels like the moving quarter for the Fever. Shooting accuracy, the difference you can see.
Offside call from Bruce.
So Dan Ryan will not be pleased there because they would have had the centre pass a chance to go 5 ahead. Offside call from the umpire, so it's going to be Sophie Garvin.
Obstruction, both out.
Wow, both standing aside. Garvin, she has to push this through. She's got the yips, Sophie Garvin.
Just take a deep breath and put it all in.
Back to 2. Timeout has been called, a HCF tactical timeout here at RAC Arena, called by Nicole Richardson. Things just starting to go awry for the visitors, and Nicole Richardson wants to calm them all down.
It's a good time to just settle and get those connections on court, to just have a bit of a chat, work through a few things, get a little bit more on the same page.
We're just sort of like, and it's 1 out. Yeah. So I can now just early prep.
Okay, so work together.
Yeah.
So rather than working in isolation with your early prep, come and use your screens. Our screens we identified early work for us, so make sure we do do our screens. What works for you on Sunday is that, not that one step, change of direction, 2 steps, and then change direction. Okay? Yeah, always steps, punch back up. Yep. And look what we're doing a good job defensively to slow them down. Eyes on the whole time. Make sure you're defence the whole time. Yeah.
Awesome, let's go. Let's go, girls. That's it.
Defensively hard one-on-one for the next few minutes.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's go. Work rate in the back.
Let's go.
Let's go. 5 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
So the first HCF tactical timeout called by Nicole Richardson. This may be a reason why things were just starting to come apart for them. Sophie Garvin just having some issues there, Maddie.
But it all comes down to work rate and effort. They said they want to increase that defensive pressure to go back to a one-on-one in defence. An attack, it's all about doing that early prep and working as a unit and together, not in isolation.
So Glasgow waited for Fowler to get in a better position, and it's back to 3. The biggest margin of the match thus far. Well, that's too easy for the Magpies. Jovic to Nelson.
Jovic kept her cool as she probably saw Bruce fly past her.
Frances Bayman. It's the contact from Garvin. So Verity Simmons and now Teague Neal. Glasgow is making herself available. She is going to shoot from this mid-range. No, she decides that Fowler is a better option. And Fowler just continues. 44 from 47, the Jamaican shooter for the Fever. Jovic. Ward just shoveled it onto Brown. Bruce flew through. Contact penalty given away. Gee, from that angle on the Harvey Norman replay.
A little bit unlucky, maybe.
Yeah, you felt so. Maybe it was just before she came across to get the arm in. Anyway, umpire's decision, and we're into the Power 5 now. So this is a chance for the Magpies to try and catch up via the super shot. Do they take the risk early and potentially open up for the Fever to take a bigger advantage? That is going to be the question for Nicole Richardson's team here. And immediately, it's Garvin.
I mean, they've had three attempts, but only shot that one from Sophie Garvin. So if you want to stay in the game, I think it's better to have a crack at these 2-point shots in the third quarter rather than relying on that fourth quarter to try and make up that deficit. Just puts way too much pressure when the game is in the balance.
Well, look at that. Super shot attempts 3. Goal misses significantly more from the Magpies. Look at that, super shots. Just the one in the match so far from the Magpies, from Sophie Garvin, as Maddie just touched on. Oh, there's a big intercept. The deflection off Ward to Brazel. And a big gain for the Magpies. So they will have the next centre pass. So they may not even need the super shot to get themselves back level if they're clinical here. And then Bruce, but getting there was Garvin. Had to be quick, Sophie Garvin. And now Nelson reduces it to 1. Let's go courtside with Josie.
Oh, we've got some great comical drama happening on the sideline here. So Nick Richardson giving Jiva Mentor a lot of direction, whether it's holding her 3 feet, making sure Janelle can shoot over her. And Janelle is listening to all the coaching commentary that's coming from Nick Richardson. So she's looked over a few times, given Nicole a little bit of a wave, jogging back into the circle. So very entertaining for everyone on the sideline here.
Thanks, Josie.
That's what happens when you're standing in the coach's box trying to give direction. Everyone can hear it.
Fowler getting up there was Ward again. Here's a Suncorp super shot off the rim from Glasgow. The specialist. And the Suncorp super shot is drained. The Fever, they're back out by 2. Just the second of the match, the first for the Fever.
This is the one thing in a game when it is close and there is that home court advantage. Sometimes the crowd get worked into it and we start to see those little attacking calls be pulled out sometimes, and then it just puts you on the back foot.
So immediately the Magpies conceding the super shot, then giving the turnover, and now the Fever out by 3 once again, but they just can't increase the margin. Sophie Garvin having some issues with the penny there, just slipping off as up for Nelson. So the Magpies will get the centre pass again. They've got just over 90 seconds. Nicole Richardson's team from this centre pass. 2 behind. Well, the obvious option would be to get there quickly with a super shot. How are they thinking about it? Contact was there from Bruce on Nelson. She looks at the umpire.
That ball was a little bit too high up in the air. Nelson getting forced under it by Bruce. I think Magpies just need to continue to chip away.
Oh, down goes Simmons, and it's an awkward fall. Gee, I hope she's all right.
Little roll of the ankle there on that right side, so close to the sideline.
Is there contact there from Brazel? You saw the rolled ankle.
It was just on the landing, whether she was trying to hold herself down, but just a little tweak. Get it re-strapped, a little bit of a stinger, run it out.
So another opportunity for Kranzberg. Second National League appearance, thrust in to this cauldron, which is the Magpies and the Fever. What a contest we have in Perth. The Magpies in some fantastic form, looking for 3 straight wins. The Fever looking to return to the top of the table. Just seconds remaining in this third quarter. And there's an arm in from Frances Bayman. Penalty called. Sorry, it should be a throw in and is. So now with Garvin for a Suncorp super shot. That's massive right before 3-quarter time. The Magpies are in front. Could they be in front at a break for the first time in this match? The Fever were in front by 1 at quarter time and half time.
It's this patience in attack, being prepared to work.
And now Nelson, this would be 2.
Work again and again. Although when you've got someone home alone like that and the score is ticking away, why not throw it in?
Welcome back here at Fox Netball. Well, what luxury Dan Ryan has in the 4th quarter that he's able to switch his players. Sunday Ariane going into wing defence and Frances Bayman will see her at goal defence. So assuming they just want a lot more of that one-on-one pressure on Sophie Garvin out the front. Verity Simmons had a little bit of a stinger with her ankle, seems to be really good to go. So we might see that switch back on the court, but Fever all good and all happy heading into the 4th quarter.
Thanks, Josie. Welcome back to Origin quarter time on Fox Netball. And Maddie Brown, what did you hear from the Collingwood side of things? As we just see Verity Simmons just getting on the bike after that ankle roll that she had in that 3rd quarter. We'll see if she does get back out on court. But Maddie, what was the message from the Magpie side of things?
Well, Nicole Richardson spoke about Sasha Glasgow and wanting Jodie-Ann Ward to work on a little bit of her timing, but we see Kosh come into the game here, so it'll be interesting to see whether they continue to implement that no jump, maybe a hold. In attack, she said, working off each other again. Let's work together as a unit, not in isolation. Come together, work off the body, use those screens to make sure we're nice and patient and getting it to circle edge for that nice high percentage shot to goal.
So Zoe Kranzberg out there at the moment in just her 2nd Suncorp Super Netball match, feeding Fowler. So the Fever will need a fight back in the fourth quarter here. The biggest lead of the match from the Magpies side of things was 2 goals, and that's where it was at three-quarter time.
I know Josie mentioned, obviously, to have a bit more tighter pressure on Garvin, but I wouldn't be surprised if bringing out Ariang to have more hands over pressure on Brown. She's the dominant feeder. She's a general in that attack, and maybe to slow up her pace as well is what the implementation of bringing Ariang out to wing defence as well.
That's Ariang feeding Bruce. Come back for the penalty. And Kranzberg firing it quickly. And it went via Teague Neal to Fowler. So both having to stand out, which makes it even easier for Janelle Fowler. And brings it back to 1. So that's where it's sitting at the moment. A 1-goal margin. Collingwood will go back out to 2, you'd anticipate here. Molly Jovic just shrugging that off. Emma Kosh, who's out there, played in every match this season. And a penalty given away. Now Brazel, a chance for the Magpies to put the foot down. Jovic. Patient build up this from Collingwood. Jovic sees the arm from Nelson, decided against it. Brown gets it before it crosses the sideline as Bruce approached.
That's definitely what Fever are hoping for, is to draw that nice cross-court pass. Collingwood getting it into a couple of hands and tips there.
Well, look at that deflection count from Courtney Bruce. She's just getting her arm everywhere. And again, this time giving away the contact penalty. She does sail close to the win, Courtney Bruce, but that's why she's such a great play. Here is another example on the Harvey Norman replay.
I mean, it's great to get those deflections as long as they go to your team's advantage. And we've seen both teams today maybe get hands to ball, but give it back to the opposition. So you want to get those gains, ball in your hand to try and get that score on the board.
For the difference now for the Magpies. Final 12 minutes, and the mistakes and the silence is creeping into RAC Arena. Janelle Fowler still leading the Nissan net points, but look, Brown, Nelson, Garvin, all there from the Magpies.
That attack end, we've mentioned, they've been so dominant, and you can see it in that point status.
Molly Jovic now, well, this is incredible. They are just, well, Nelson, what a miss there. That would have made it 5. They would have had the centre pass to potentially make it 6. How big could that be? Mark it down, 12 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter.
It's been twice. There's been 2 close shots from Shimona Nelson. Yes, you have a lead, but it's all about continuing to put that pressure on your opposition. Tick away at that scoreboard. Make those simple ones count.
So back to 3. A manageable margin for the Fever. We did see the Fever get out to 3 in that third quarter and second quarter, but the Magpies were able to rein it in. Keeping it to 4 now through Shimona Nelson. So the West Coast Fever, after the opening month of the season, many thought one of the red-hot favourites for the competition. Keeping in touch here, but they lose this one. It'll be 3 losses in 5. And the Magpies motoring at the moment, full of confidence. Kelsey Brown has been so crucial in the mid-court. There she is again, feeding Nelson. Kosh.
See that Magpies, that nice box defence. Trying to sweep out, hedging.
Nervous looking Fever fans there. Final 10 minutes now at RAC Arena. Brown will get there just. But then an important arm in, frustration from Teague Neal. She thought it was legal. The umpire thought the other way, and now it's Garvin. So they feel like those calls going against them at the moment, the team in green. And now Bruce flings it back. The whistle is gone. More frustration boiling here for the Fever.
You can see the Magpies just starting to be a little bit flat-footed in their attack. They want to do that early prep work. We obviously know Gabby Sinclair at home with the flu. A few others had been feeling the pinch throughout the week. Do they have the legs and the stamina to keep pushing for these last 9 minutes?
Well, that is the question, isn't it? We do know there has been some illness in the Magpies camp this week. How are they going to hold on in these final 9 minutes? I'm sure they're not going to be thinking about it from a holding on perspective. They need to score because they know how good the Fever are in that department, with the likes of Janelle Fowler, of course. Jovic and Garvin. And the high pass to Nelson, who's had some issues today. They get away with it again, the Magpies, as Bruce got an arm in. And contact given away by the Magpies. So is this the break the Fever need in this fourth quarter?
They need to score off this game. They haven't been great at scoring off gained possession throughout the season at times. Or as Ariang goes offside, so when you're outside the court and you step into a area of play that you're not meant to be, that is still considered offside even when you're outside the court. Coach killer there. Magpies need to make this one pay.
Well, they've been given opportunities, the Fever, in this fourth quarter. Garvin was waiting for it to arrive. Patient stuff. And Fever feed, and we have got a timeout here, a HCF tactical timeout, as we just get ourselves prepared for this final 8 minutes. You can see Dan Ryan and his team looking up to the scoreboard. Let's have a listen.
Okay. We've got to make the choice right now to go for the win in this game, all right? We are getting absolutely cooked on the loose ball get, so I want desperation from our entire team to be the first on that loose ball, okay? So everyone lock into it. You've got to make the choice to be more aggressive, more assertive, first to it, okay? So full team defence here. If we want to win the game, everyone needs to find something, okay? Scoreboard pressure in attack, sash back into goal attack roll, all right? But we need ball, so be brave, be bold, look for the opportunities, and when we get it, we lean in together and go for it, all right? Come on.
Take a deep breath. We're going to give you the opportunities in defence, okay? So take it down, we score, and we just take it goal by goal, okay? Moment by moment, honey, guys.
And in attack, we control, okay? We take care of whatever defense do, okay?
Okay.
So we have options.
Fever, three, what you do? Fever!
Well, don't you love a contest like this? 4 goals the difference. The Fever down at home. And Dan Ryan is telling his team to be brave and bold in these final 7.5 minutes.
You got to love a Dan Ryan timeout when he's saying, be assertive, more aggression, more assertiveness, desperation team. You got to love that from a coach. So much passion.
So what can they find? Can they rise to that pep talk from their coach, the Fever? Fowler is there. She was looking for Glasgow, who's now back out there. Teague Neal just trying to float it over the top. So it's 3. That's where it's sitting at the moment for the Fever. They really need a turnover. They've had turnovers in this fourth quarter, haven't made them count. Courtney Bruce getting herself set on Nelson. Gives away the penalty. You can see her reaction. Fine margins.
And Nelson just needs to stay nice and tall and strong to provide that option for her attackers. They can deliver it as long as she's standing up tall.
So Teague Neal and now Simmons. Here is Glasgow from mid-range. And it drops for Sasha Glasgow, just getting herself warmed up, getting a team fired up for these final 6.5 minutes. And she'll be getting herself sorted for the Power 5, which is rapidly approaching. They're holding them at 4, the Magpies at the moment. And Simmons again was rolling her ankle there. Saw that in the third quarter, back out there, bouncing around. So it's getting to crunch time for Dan Ryan's West Coast Fever.
They need to generate a turnover here, maybe get a one-pointer on, and then get into that power play and start putting them up.
There is the turnover they're after from Frances Bayman, one of their most experienced players out there. 94th appearance in the National League in Australia for the English international, and here's the Jamaican international to bring us back to a 2-goal margin.
A little telegraphed pass there from Sophie Garvin to Molly Jovic. Let's see them be a bit more smart with the ball in hand, use those balls, get those defenders off.
And Fowler up against Jiva Mentor, wins out. We're into power time. No time wasted by Glasgow. We are all square at 64 all. What a match this is at RAC Arena between two teams desperate for 4 points. For the Fever, it means the summit. For the Magpies, it means 3 straight wins. Off balances Nelson, but there was contact, so she will put the Magpies back in front. So who takes this game on? Who is going to be brave? Who is going to be bold? As Dan Ryan said, it's the Fever at the moment, and it's Glasgow initially falling short, but she delivers again. Sasha Glasgow, the super shot specialist, drains another Suncorp super shot.
And when we go to this wide shot, you see the coaches up and about, both so competitive and passionate.
Both of them riding every moment here. They know how critical this could be in their season. An errant pass. Well, it's like an 8th player for them, this Green Army at RAC Arena for the West Coast Fever. They are roaring their team towards victory here. Garvin getting up slowly. Fowler, they'll be content to go up in ones here. It's a 2-goal advantage.
Prepared to just tick it away. They got that gain ball that he asked about, and then they capitalised and put that pressure on the scoreboard. Dan Ryan looking super happy, up and about. It'll be interesting to see what the Magpies are going to do to counteract this momentum shift for the Fever.
What a turnaround. Nicole Richardson now calling the HCF tactical timeout.
You're not going to go the 2-point shot too early, right? So if the 1-point shot there is we're going to take it, and then we'll see where it lands us in the next minute and a half, and then we'll go from there. You must finish your leads in attack. Don't stop short on it. Finish your lead, front cut them if you need. Patient with the delivery of the ball. Strong under the post. You're doing a good job. No, we'll make it. Let's go, girl. Okay, let's go.
Stay calm, guys. We've got this. Patience, control, keep attacking that ball. Everyone in defence in 10. Let's go.
We leave nothing on this squad, all right? Let's go.
Let's go. 5 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Guys, let's go.
Well, that's the end of the HCF tactical timeout for Nicole Richardson and Dan Ryan. It is Fever pitch inside RAC Arena. A mouth-watering Mother's Day matchup, this one, between the Fever and the Magpies. But Sasha Glasgow has pulled the Fever in front with some super shots. Under pressure. And of course, don't forget, for every super shot, $100 to the Confident Girls Foundation. And Sasha Glasgow will be looking to deliver a few more.
Magpies haven't had a change all game, and we see Nia Allen come on into that goal attack position now, hoping to probably shoot some two-pointers. She's their specialist to go to in this moment. It's time for her to stand up in this last 3 minutes.
So just a few minutes ago, Dan Ryan gave his team a pep talk. They were down 62-58. How about the turnaround? 10-3 since his last time out. Nelson is going to keep it at 2 here. Nicole Richardson saying, let's wait before we go for any more Suncorp super shots.
So do not pull the trigger too early. Keep chipping away until we absolutely have to.
Simmons. And then Ariang returning it to the Fever Centre. Here is Bruce. Francis Bayman slinging it across to Simmons. Taking their time here. They get the obstruction call. Pressure was put on Simmons by Jovic. And now Fowler. Good little 1-2 link up with Teague Neal. And it's 3 again for the Fever. So they have to move, you feel, the Magpies. It's all or nothing. It's almost that time for them. And they've turned it over. Ariang charging after it. Hands from Ward. So it should be a Fever ball from the sideline.
The pressure from the Magpies. They need to stay in the contest, continue to build it. They definitely need to fly for some balls, but they do need to build it, and try and get that ball lifted up in the air.
Well, you just think back, 12 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter. The Magpies had a chance to go out by 5, potentially 6, and now they're behind by 4 with just over 90 seconds remaining in the centre pass against them. They really have been tested today, the Fever. But they're ahead by 5. They're almost there. They've almost pulled it off. A fourth quarter miracle.
It's go time for the Magpies here. They need to get it into Nia Allen straight away.
And again, there was contact.
Time, got a fence. Return the ball straight away.
No more comments, Nicole.
First shot for the game. And it's super shot!
Wow, 3 the difference. Nia Allen off the bench and delivers, but is it too late? Little bit of a deflection to try and put the game out of reach. That may just do it. That may just do it for the West Coast Fever. They have to score and get a turnover. That probably won't be enough. They can feel it, the Green Army.
They definitely played a role when the game got tight, the crowd.
Janelle Fowler to put the cherry on top with a Suncorp super shot. It drops out. She will get another opportunity. Well, it is a cherry on top from Glasgow. And it's a fourth quarter robbery at RAC. They were behind by 4 goals before a Dan Ryan pep talk inspires the Fever to back-to-back wins, and they return to the summit of the Suncorp Super Netball. And what a show these two sides put on in the West, Maddie Brown.
A sense of relief, I think we just saw on Dan Ryan's face. Magpies, they fought hard all game, but as you mentioned, at critical moments when they could have continued to extend the lead, they gave it up and kept Fever in the contest. And when it started to get close, we saw that crowd come into play, and the Fever players stand up that little bit taller.